Hello, welcome to another episode of Rainbow and Bloom. This is a channel about living and thriving with the autoimmune disease known as Scleroderma. And today I want to talk about disability, and specifically disability insurance, because there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of anxieties out there about applying for disability and how to do it, and wondering if when to do it, when is the right time. There are a lot of commercials on TV with lawyers, disability lawyers, talking about fighting disability for the benefits you deserve, and they create a lot of feeling of anxiety, like I said, about disability, and it's going to be so hard to deal with the government. They don't want to give you the money, and you have to get a lawyer or somebody to fight for you. But that hasn't been my experience, and I wanted to talk to you about how easy it could actually be. For me personally, just going back a little bit, it took me a very, very long time to apply for disability. I called myself disabled because I knew that, my body wasn't functioning right and everything was so hard. But I didn't think that I would be considered disabled, because I didn't know that disability can be invisible. And as a matter of fact, most disabilities are invisible. I just thought, I could get up and barely make it to work every day. And I didn't have, any physical, obvious signs of disability. In my mind, disability meant, you're missing a foot or something. You fell off a ladder and broke your back, physical, disabilities like that with outward signs. I had no idea there was such a thing as invisible disability. And that's basically what autoimmune disease causes, disability that you cannot see. And, I'm sure a lot of you have people say to you, "Oh, you look great. Oh, I can't tell. You look fine. You don't look sick." So there's a lot of misconception about, first of all, what illness is in the first place. Just because someone looks, what we would consider healthy doesn't mean that they are. You can't see a person's insides. You can't see what they feel and what they're going through. So, so I had to apply for disability. I had basically no other choice. I had mentioned before, I was completely disabled. Like, I couldn't get out of bed. I could barely move from all the atrophy and the constant, really debilitating pain. And it wasn't until one of the many times I went to the hospital, when my case got a bit more severe, that I had a social worker actually come into my room and help me set everything up. I hadn't considered it, but the hospital, got in touch with the social worker for me and had her come and talk to me. And as a side, that's a really good reason or example why you have to find a really good hospital system. It's really important. The quality of care is not the same all over the country. And if you need to travel like a couple times a year or something, every couple months, it kind of is worth it to, they may not be, if you're out of state, they probably, I don't know if they could help you, get in contact with people in your state. A good system probably could. I was at the University of Penn health system, and they are just beyond, so over and above anything you could expect in doctors and, a healthcare team. So yeah, I would recommend, if you're not getting the service you deserve where you are, that it could be a good idea to just find someone out of your area if your insurance would cover it and all that. But one of the things that I guess you could say is good about having to apply for disability and having lupus or scleroderma or MS is that these illnesses are already recognized by Social Security as causing debilitating disability, potential fatality, and lifelong illness, chronic illness, because there's no known cure. So disability, Social Security has what they call a blue book. It's the Social Security Administration's medical guide. It's the blue book. And in that book, they have a listing of these illnesses that are, like I said, known to cause permanent disability. So what it says, I got this from the website. You can actually just go to the website. Don't call a lawyer first. Go to the website and get information so that you're empowered when you have real information from the source instead of like responding to scare tactics on TV. It says, in order to gain approval for disability benefits, you have to prove that your condition, and this is the Scleroderma page, there's a page for Scleroderma. You have to prove that your condition has lasted or will last for a minimum of 12 months or result in death. That's a lot of us. It says as far as, applying for a disability, which you can do online, your focus will be on proving the severity of your particular condition and how it limits your ability to work or do daily activities. So you can actually, like I said, apply online. And it's really simple. You're filling out your own information, so it's not that hard. And you have to provide a list of your doctors, their names, contact information, and everything. And then Social Security, each state has its own medical board to approve these things. And that medical board for Social Security, they contact, your doctors and get the medical records from your doctor. And then they review your case. In my situation, it was very quick. In my state, and I guess because of the county I live in, while the application was going through for disability, my social worker helps me apply for welfare. So I was getting small payments from that while I waited for disability. And I think that was like a month and a half or something until the disability came through. And it was very smooth, and I didn't have to, pay some person a fee. They take a certain percentage of your fee, your payment, the first payment, which can be pretty substantial. It could be a couple $1,000s. They'll take whatever, the percentages out of that. But so because I didn't have that, and I didn't have to pay anybody, and it was retroactive. So it wasn't just from the month of approval, it went back to the date that I applied. So the payment that I didn't get in that time was added to the first payment. So it was a good chunk of money. As far as medical approval for disability benefits, it says if you can prove that you have confirmed diagnosis of scleroderma as outlined in the SSA medical guide, which like I said, is the blue book, and have evidence that your condition is disabling, you may be approved for monthly disability benefits. In the blue book list of qualifying impairments, scleroderma is listed as an immune system disorder filed under, when you go on the website, it's like you can do adult or childhood impairment, so it's filed under both, and it's specifically noted as an autoimmune disease. So that kind of separates you from other people who maybe, people like I said, fall off a ladder or something, a work injury, or some other, maybe non-specific illness or something. They're gonna probably have to go through more hoops to prove that, they're disabled. And there are some cases that I've heard of that, you know, someone is clearly disabled, really unable to work, and they can't get approval. I don't know why that is, but um, I'll just read the rest of this. In order to medically qualify for disability benefits with scleroderma, you have to be able to provide adequate documentation that matches the definition listed in Section 14 of the Blue Book, as well as one of the following combinations. So, you know, you can go to the website and look at all that, but I would encourage you to, especially if you're really, really struggling, don't be intimidated by the process. It really is not that difficult. It's not difficult. For me, the thing that was a lot of work was filing for benefits with the county. So homemade, home, you know, help, all that stuff. You have to get your financial information. You have to provide your medical documentation. Unlike Social Security, you have to do that, as far as I remember. And I just remember it being a lot of paperwork, and just keep, you know, when you have a condition like this, you have a lot of mental fog too. It's not just the extreme fatigue, but it's also your mind doesn't really function, you know, you're not that quick. And having to keep track of, you know, names and phone numbers and what was said when by who, because the next time you call to follow up or ask a question, you're probably not going to get the same person, and you're going to have to go over like who you talked to, what you said. You got to write all that down. Your fingers might not work. You might not be able to hold a pen. I remember I wasn't able to unless it was really, really big. So yeah, have somebody help you. Like keep tabs on everything, because, you know, with chronic illness, severe illness, it's like having 5 full-time jobs. It's like having 5 full-time jobs and no help, even if you do have help, because ultimately, unless you're a kid, it's all on you. You have to sign your name. You have to understand what you're doing. It's a lot. And, you know, you're doing this, applying for things, and you have to go to your doctors. You have to remember to take your medication. You have to keep track of so much. And then regular life stuff too. So, you know, I would say just apply on your own online. I know that there are also nonprofits who that apply for people, and I've been told they don't charge a fee. Maybe you could find something like that to help you, as opposed to going to a lawyer that's gonna, you know, take 20% of your money or whatever, and you need it. The other thing that I learned while on disability is it's Social Security. I didn't realize that either when I started, that it was actually like you're dipping into Social Security before your time. And I didn't know that there's a cost of living increase. They haven't done that in a couple years. They say that the cost of living hasn't risen, which could be a surprise to a lot of people. But so they haven't raised it in a couple years, but it's something they usually do. And I just thought that was really interesting. It's like, wow, this is why it's not sustainable. Anyway, so yeah, that's one thing that, and also, phone ringing. Also, you can work while on disability. When you get well enough to work, it's not like welfare where if you work, they take away your benefits or something. If you work, there's a limit to how much you can make without it affecting your benefits. And I think, you know, it has something to do with the poverty level, you know, and it's according to how large your household is. But it's something that, you know, they want you to get to a point where you don't need the benefit anymore. They want to make you self-sufficient, which we all want, I'm sure, because that means you're getting better. And so they do things to encourage you to, keep trying to get well enough and be employable, so you don't have to, rely on this benefit anymore. And there was one more thing I wanted to tell you that now has left my mind about. Oh, yeah, so because it's Social Security, you had to have worked. And, that's the one downside for people who come down with these illnesses who are young. If you haven't worked and you haven't worked a significant amount of time, then there's, nothing for you really, because it goes by taxes, what was taken out of your income. We all have that, that little tax that comes out of every paycheck. If you haven't worked or worked much, then because you have to have a certain amount of time working on your record. So that's the one thing. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, just see what you can do to take care of yourself. Don't be afraid. Just try and see what happens. You can, if you are turned down initially, you can appeal, and you can appeal again, and just try to make sure that your application is complete and accurate. Don't give them any reason to question you. They might ask for additional information, but you don't want to give them any reason to like turn you down. So just make sure everything is correct. Okay. Well, that's it for today. And I hope you have a great week and a great weekend. Stay strong, stay positive, stay encouraged. All right, I'll see you next time.